Mighty Mercury. Is up, Mercury fan? Welcome back to the PHNX Mercury podcast. I can't even get my words out. I'm so freaking excited to be gathered here with you guys on this fine Thursday morning. Wait, it's not even Thursday. It's Friday. Happy Friday, Stephen. My PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, in and out of Chicago this week, man. Big week for you. So how the heck are you doing on this fine Friday morning? I keep wanting to say just different days of the week, different names. Next thing you know, I'm going to be calling you Kevin, man.
Nah, that's not going to happen. Everything's good though on my end. That was a very fun basketball game last night. The most impressive win for the Mercury, their best win of the season so far. A team that just continues to answer whenever adversity hits them in any capacity, and they have a direct and specific response to it, and it's always comprehensive. And I think that's the makings of a team that typically finishes the season fairly well, depending on obviously where they end up at. That matters in it all, but they're in a great space to start the season so far. How are you? What were your early impressions of yesterday? It was a fun night, huh?
I'm not going to lie. Last night was probably the most fun night of WNBA basketball I feel like that we've had all season, between the Mercury beating the New York Liberty and the Valkyries beating the Fever. It was just a fun night of basketball. And then on top of it, Game 6 of the NBA Finals. If you're a basketball fan, man, the last 24 hours have been a very good 24 hours. So I'm blessed, you know? I cannot complain. Shout out to Kevin for being behind the X's and O's today. If you didn't know, it's Spirit Week here at PHNX headquarters. And, you know, to celebrate Spirit Week, we're going to say a little thank you to our diehards, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the Mercury diehards really are like the goats of the PHNX diehards. Everyone around here in and around the studio knows that by a landslide, the Mercury diehards are the best, and it's really not close. You know, they're top two, not two, if you will. And so without further ado, I took a ton of pictures in the last year, and I want to show off our family a little bit. And so Kevin's going to cue up some family photos for us. Kevin.
My bad.
Kevin.
My bad.
Man.
I don't know how that got there.
Kevin, man. Oh, man. That was never supposed to be public. That was supposed to be just, oh, man. All right. Well, if anyone saw that, no, you didn't. Nonetheless, though, without further ado, our family. I don't know if you guys can see all of the lovely faces in this photo. And actually, there is, in the middle there, Chris. Special shout out to Chris for being the mother of the den, if you will. This is just an incredible group of people. We meet up every halftime. They text in the Discord more than anybody else. They love basketball. And above all else, they support Stephen and I. This picture of me as a 7-foot tall person, you guys are all welcome and #blessed for this. Specially edited just for you guys. If you guys were here last season, you know all about the 7 feet tall joke. Another family photo. These people just, I mean, they just get me, you know? And like I said, it's just a special group. And so if you're not a diehard already, be sure to click the link in the first link in the description below, and you can become a diehard. Join literally the best group of people in the Valley. I wish I was fronting you guys, but I'm really not. They're the best group of people ever.
Yeah, and I think they represent well exactly what everything that X Factor is regarding Mercury fandom. Bunch of diehards in a literal sense, and they show up and they show out every time they do show up. And there's a community that's been established organically because of it. And I think that the ways in which they go about, you know, just communicating with each other on social media, whether it's in our diehard Discord, which is always cracking every single day a game is had, and anytime any Mercury news breaks, or obviously on the timeline as well. It's a very special group, and it's continuing to grow. So you might want to get in on the fun before it becomes something that people could say, well, you got in late, so you're not a day one. Time is ticking on that part, so tap in with it.
All I'm saying is when we're having our WNBA Finals watch party and you guys aren't a part of it because you didn't join the Discord soon enough, don't call me. Don't call me, okay? But something else we really got to talk about today. Again, thank you to the DieHards. You guys make the world go round for us. So I can't say thank you enough. But we need your help. This is a big day in WNBA world. And they are, if you guys hadn't heard, it's all-star voting. If you haven't seen my tweets about it today and the gazillion of other people tweeting about it today, you would know that it's all-star voting, and it's a very important time for us, guys. It's a double vote day, okay? Alyssa Thomas got you guys here, got you guys in the chat. What are you doing? You're not voting for Alyssa Thomas, man? You're not voting for Kahleah Copper? Satu Sabali? I'm sorry. I didn't see Monique, Akoa, Makani one time on that list. I'm sick. So, yeah, y'all have a job to do today. It's very, very important. I already joked I might be creating 100,000 new email accounts later today. Don't say it was, I didn't do my part. I've done my part. So I'm asking you guys to pitch in and do your part. And then the other part of this, and I told Stephen I was going to mention this before the episode started. If the Liberty keep losing, Girl Dad, a.k.a. Coach of the Year, a.k.a. Nate Tibbetts, my challenger himself, the technical foul getter, could be coaching in the All-Star game. And I'm going to be getting into all those texts in a little bit. But nonetheless, there is a route, if you will, for Nate Tibbetts to be coaching in the All-Star game. And I need y'all to know I'm going to be insufferable, okay? Insufferable if this happens. So watch out for that. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts in this puzzle, but you guys have a job to do. I have a job to do. The Liberty has a job to do, and the Phoenix Mercury have a job to do. Keep winning, and everything looks real hot from here.
Yeah, be like the Mercury, and when opportunity presents itself, take full advantage of it. You got a double day for votes. Cash in. Tell a friend, tell that friend's friend, and y'all know what to do after that. Continue that chain to keep going. Everything counts. And Alyssa Thomas not being near the top of these first round results it's an indictment. There's no way to sugarcoat it. She's been a top four, no worse than top four player in the entire W this entire season. And yes, she's missed a few games, but even with the games she's missed by the statistical output in total and on a per game basis, you would not imagine that she's missed a relevant portion of the season so far. Get her where she needs to be, which is at the top of all votes regarding awards, as well as the All-Star game, which we're speaking to right now.
Well, and this is a perfect segue because I already told Stephen, we're going to talk about this win over the Liberty, but we got to start with the most important piece in this whole win, and that's the engine. Vroom, vroom, man. Vroom, frickin' vroom. And Stephen, I want to let you kind of start on this because I know you got stats ready for us. I know you got every math ready for us. And so I'm amped. I'm amped to have this MVP conversation. I said it on Twitter yesterday. It's not an MVP conversation if you're leaving Alyssa Thomas's name out. So why don't you guys go ahead and fix that conversation real quick, and Stephen will help you with that right now.
Yeah, Kevo, we can go ahead and get the AT graphic up now. Alyssa Thomas this season already with 6 double-doubles, 5 consecutive, pretty much since she's returned from injury, and then the one game that happened before she missed the 5-game stretch. It's not even that I don't know. She's one of one. No one does it like her, and no one can even kind of compare to her in that respect, either just because of how consistent she does what she does. And the 18.15 rebounds, 7 assists performance from yesterday's win in New York on the tail end of a road back-to-back against the defending reigning champions. Again, who does that? Who does that? Alyssa is in a very special space, but it's not something that's new, unfortunately, because this is just what she does. It's just what she does. The control, the leadership, the impact on the game, the ways that opponents have to respect her. She just understands, and she's just her. She's her. That's the best way to put it.
She really is one of one, right? She's the first Mercury player to have this many consecutive double-doubles. And I mean, you guys know the elite company that alone puts her in. Like, the greatness that came before her in the Mercury uniforms, and then for Alyssa Thomas to be the first to do anything, that alone is very, very, very impressive.
It is, especially when you look at the Mercury franchise. To do anything that's in that stratosphere, considering the all-time greats that have worn Mercury jerseys and graced the hardwood for this franchise, you're doing something. And she's done that in multiple respects within her first month and a half of being a member of this Phoenix Mercury franchise. It gets to a point where you just have to laugh at how great and how consistently and how often she is at being what she is. She understands who she is, and it's probably the thing that differentiates her more than anything else is how selfless all of her greatness kind of comes about as being, which it truly is. How often does she actually hunt out her own shot compared to how often a coach would literally never scoff at any shot attempt that she might want to take? The fact that she understands and puts everybody else in the best position to be successful, again, just speaks to just how great of a player she is. She's in a really special space to start this season, and there's a certain type of attention that she should be getting. And also continue to mention this is not something new for her either. These things are staples of her career for the past, especially this past 4 to 5 year stretch that she's been in MVP conversations after all NBA defensive first team, after all W first team generally. This is just what she does. This is a mainstay type of space that she's operating in. I'm glad that people are she's getting more attention for it, but she needs even more because the way that these All-Star votes reflected, honestly disrespectful to Alyssa because we're on the topic of her, but there's probably 6 or 7 other names that are also being disrespected by the way that these All-Star votes have turned out through the first round.
Yeah, if I continue to talk too much about this All-Star voting, I'll give myself an aneurysm. So not too much on that, but because I've got time after the show is over. So if you want to argue with me, head over to my Twitter at Erika Day. I'd love to do so with you. I've been doing it all morning. I'll continue to do so after the show is over. But I do want to point to something that I saw on Twitter this morning, okay? Alyssa Thomas is in the first half of yesterday's game, she was the third player in WNBA history with 4,000 or more points, 2,000 or more rebounds, 1,500 or more assists, and 500 or more steals. The only other players to have that stat line is Candace Parker and Diana Taurasi, and Alyssa Thomas was the fastest to get there in only 327 games. And yet, this is how many consecutive seasons that she's being left out of this conversation. And y'all know I'm a really mellow-headed gal, okay? I really like to keep the kosher peace around here, But this is actually about to really make me upset. She's the first to do so many things, and she's the fastest to do so many other things, and yet still here we are having to beg you guys to put some respect on her name. Kevin, I just sent this GIF in the Slack. I don't know if you could get it up on the chat for it in the show for us, but I'd love if that is the case because y'all are sleeping. We've been telling y'all since the beginning of the show. And this GIF, I've been saving for a year. So watch out because Stephen and I have been telling you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're talking about Alyssa Thomas, you better be having the MVP conversation. You better be having the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Hell, throw her in the Coach of the Year conversation while we're at it. If she's not at the top of your list, it's barely a list. Yes, Kevin's got the GIF. Here we go. You guys have been sleeping. I've been telling y'all. year-old GIF, and it's still being circulated throughout that Discord, man. It's good stuff. Shout out to you guys for being the best GIF and meme creators in the Valley. But yeah, it just does anger me a little bit that I feel like we're bullying people into this conversation, and I don't feel like that's justified.
It's not bullying. It's a tap on the shoulder, like, hey, I know y'all are kind of mesmerized by this, but everything that you're looking for is right over here. If you just kind of shift your angle, your point of view just a little bit, you'll see exactly what you're looking for is happening right here with Alyssa Thomas. It genuinely is. It's just like sometimes you have to just pause and laugh. Like some things, and then it's like you go and look at it and you're going to read it to someone, and then just laughable the greatness that she's sustained at. She's leading the W in assists per game and in total. Mind you, having missed 5 games as well. I want to continue to mention that part. She's missed 5 games. Still leads this league in assists per game and assists in total. And she also leads in 3-point assists with 46. I just don't know what more else you need to kind of know about to put her in these conversations that she has earned. I'm really confused by what is exactly catching people's attention. If these people that are having these type of seasons aren't getting that attention, and we're only 5 weeks, 6 weeks in. Come on. Yeah, we gotta be better. We gotta be better. Too much talent. Too many career best starts to seasons for the nonsense to be happening so early on. We gotta be better.
Well, and I'm going to get to the impact that she has on the team here in just a second, because I feel like we're talking about Lexi Held and we're talking about Monique, Akoa, Makani in these comments. And yes, you guys are all correct. But a huge piece in what's making them look so great is Alyssa Thomas being on their team. And I'm not saying that those players are not fantastic players. Not at all what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the accentuation that they get by Alyssa Thomas being the point of the team is just, it's second to none. You're not going to see... If you put this exact same roster minus Alyssa Thomas plus Chelsea Gray on a team, it still isn't going to look this good, is all we're telling you. And Alyssa Thomas isn't even a point guard. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of the type of numbers that she's having, playing the position that she's playing, with 47.5% of the minutes that Mercury members are playing coming from rookies. These people have never even played in the league before, and Alyssa Thomas is making them look like Sabrina Ionescu out there.
Yeah, she's great. She's just great. Like, sometimes you run out of ways to say that somebody is great, and Alyssa embodies that as much as anybody else in the W. And yeah, she continues to find new ways to add to what she's already kind of streamlined as success for her. And I think that her immediate impact with this Phoenix Mercury franchise is a direct example of the type of impact that she has in terms of the leadership, in terms of the things that can be measured from relationships, infusing confidence in the players. And then you put that in tandem with the all-time great talent that she is in between the lines on the court. It's just special. It's special. And I think Mercury fans, I will continue to say this, you all are spoiled in the most complimentary fashion to have gone from Diana Taurasi and all that she is and was to everything in tandem with DT that Brittany Griner was, to now be able to pivot to Alyssa Thomas. You all are spoiled absolutely rotten. And I hope y'all are enjoying every second of it, because this is not something that most franchises have the opportunity to kind of experience in their fandom. Usually if you have an all-time great exiting, it's not usually accompanied by another all-time great in their own respect in the middle of their prime, doing the things that Alyssa is doing to follow up everything that Diana Taurasi was and still is to the city of Phoenix in general, but also to the Mercury in particular. This is greatness, and I hope y'all are enjoying every bit of it, because it's still just getting started with the Alyssa Thomas era, in addition to obviously Kahleah Copper and Satu Sabli.
Well, and I do, before we get to the break, I want to have just a little conversation about the technical fouls from yesterday. Just a little tiny one. Because the Mercury got 3. I joked about it on Twitter. DT's legacy is alive and well with the Phoenix Mercury. Before yesterday, they were second to last in technical fouls in the league. And I'll be honest,
That wasn't gonna last.
Yeah,
that
was just not right. Okay. First, it just, something was off in the air, and so they had to catch up a little bit. They're still not in the lead. I'm someone could probably fact check me in the comments and tell me where they're at just in terms of like the standings for the technical fouls. But they added 3 to their count yesterday, and I thought it was going to be 4, and that girl dad was going to get ejected. So I'm just thankful that didn't happen, because I'm not trying to see no ejections of Nate Tibbetts this season. I would love to see him get I love seeing, me personally, as a basketball fan, I love when coaches get teed up, because that means they're usually fighting for the rights of their team, and I feel like when you have Alyssa Thomas on your team, you have Satu Sabali, you have Kahleah Copper, yeah, they can fight their own battles, and I'm not ever going to say they can't, because they most certainly can. But it's a lot nicer when Nate Tibbetts does it for them, so that way, if it gets to the point of no return, that Nate Tibbetts is the one ejected and not Alyssa Thomas, because it would have been pretty awful had we had to have a little, part go pitter patter because Alyssa gets teed up again. So I would rather Nate get all the techs of the team than anyone else. If I'm entirely honest with you, I had some beef with the refs yesterday because, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's been all this, that, and the other, the elbows being thrown, spears, I'm trying to think of other wrestling words, but
like front headlocks.
Yeah, headlocks.
Muay Thai clinches.
All this going on.
Yeah.
Black belt taekwondo type nonsense, and we're getting tech for Monique slapping the Santron, whatever. Are we serious? Like, can we be so for real right now? Like, I'm sorry, and she had 18 points, and she had just gotten one from Natasha freaking Cloud. I would be slapping that thing too. Like, what are we talking about here? I really fear as though we've lost sight of the plot here. And I did have some people telling me, oh, well, they're probably going to get a lot more, whistle happy after the incidents of earlier this week. And that might be true. But why does the Phoenix Mercury have to be the one to pay the price for that, man? It's just egregious. And Nate Tibbetts was arguing with the refs for giving Monique the technical, and then that's when he picked up the technical. And then later in the game, Alyssa Thomas was beefing with the ref. Very good stuff. Honestly, you can't write movies better than this. But nonetheless, it really did peeve me just a wee bit. That's the politically correct way I can say it. That this team got 3 techs when that team is doing Lord knows what, and they're just allowed to be willy-nilly with it.
Yeah, that the Monique tech, like I understand that anytime that's happened, it's been a technical foul. Context matters, though. I will always harp on context matters. It matters. Was it a response to a bad call? Was it an emotional response to a call in her favor? The call was in her favor. So why is she receiving a technical foul after success? I'm confused. I'm very confused. I also thought it was funny that in postgame, Nate said he thought he got the hook too. And then he said he found out Alyssa basically beat him to the punch. that was hilarious in the postgame to hear him say that yesterday, and the way he kind of led into it to kind of set the scene. That was funny. They're very much akin with one another regarding disdain for officiating, especially in specific moments. And for Mercury fans, that's nothing new. It very much was a Diana Taurasi thing. It was very much a Diana and Natasha and Kahleah and BG and Nate thing last season. And naturally with this team this season, he has more dogs that are going to very much be in his corner and beating him to the punch at times regarding letting the officials know when they can do a much better job than they actually did in that moment. So I usually won't say much about techs because they are what they are. But to receive a tech after you yourself just converted an and one. Just very, very confused. That's one of the more strange technical fouls that I've seen in quite some time.
I'm just not going to lie. The math was really not mathing for me. Again, I know they have to set precedents in certain situations, but I just didn't really feel that was ever justified yesterday in the game's context. That they were playing good, clean basketball 99.99% of the time. Like, yeah, it was a little aggressive, but both teams have top-rated defense. Of course it was going to be an aggressive game. Like, what are we talking about here? And for it to be Mo that got the first of the 3 techs, like,
Right.
You might as well have teed up Lexi Held. Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, no. So, yeah, I'm sorry to get so riled up about this. Y'all know I love to get riled up about officials. That is one thing that Stephen and I are very different regarding. I'll complain. One thing about me. If Nate doesn't want the tech, throw me on the court, Nate. I'll take whatever tech you need me to take, bro. I got you. Nonetheless, though,
I would say it was real quick. We can transition. It was also funny because of where the tech took place. The on-court microphones that they have like under the backboard, et cetera, et cetera. You could immediately hear the conversations from the Mercury in their huddle with Monique after she is like, a tech from me? Like, what did I do? And kid is like, you can't do that. And everybody's like, no, but come on, man. Like, what are we doing right now? It was very funny to hear their immediate reactions in that exact moment. That's all I really had on that part. But I thought it was funny to see the way that it went from this high of emotions to an immediate level of confusion. And then it was like a drop off, like, okay, that's what we're doing. So we just got 2+1, and then we're about to give up 2 free throws to them right after that.
Well, and the New York Liberty broadcast team really thought that was going to wipe what's the word I'm looking for? Not motivation, but like he thought this pendulum was going to swing. And I was like,
Momentum?
Momentum. Thank you. And I was like, brother, I don't think you know much about this team. I actually fear that that's going to fuel them further. So I'm glad that we can all agree that you have never watched the Mercury play basketball, at least not this season.
You said it, not me.
I just be like, are y'all for real right now? Like, when I'm listening to them commentate, I'm like, and y'all can clip that picture all you want because it's very useful in many a context. Like, what are we doing here? So, quick recap for the first half of this episode. Alyssa Thomas, MVP. Alyssa Thomas, Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe Alyssa Thomas and Nate Tibbetts can share Coach of the Year. Phoenix Mercury headed to the finals. And All-Star voting double day. Have I missed anything, Stephen, in the first half?
Yeah, I think you missed the biggest one. It was just Alyssa Thomas, period.
That
was the very first one, and then you worked.
Oh, Stephen, I forgot. Can you ask me something? Anything?
What?
What?
I'm glad it's only Kevin in the studio for that, and I'm not there to have that all in my ear. Sorry, Kevo.
He likes it, man. He's a fan of the sticks.
Thunderstick show passion. I'm with it.
We're gonna have a Thunderstick
are not
meme
made
dropping.
For enclosed areas. They're made for arenas. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is quite loud, especially in the Circle K studio.
Correct. She might shatter that glass behind y'all.
Dang. I think Stephen just called me ugly, man. That's tough. But no.
What?
His face. Stephen is over it today. Stephen's like, I went on vacation and I come back to this nonsense on the PHNX Mercury podcast.
I ain't got nothing for that one. I was talking about Thundersticks, and then you just went a whole other direction.
Well, Stephen and I are going to get a lot more conversation out about the defensive mentality behind this team, the leadership that everyone on the team and the bench is showing. All of that and more after this really quick break on the PHNX Mercury podcast. Mountain America Credit Union. They are, in fact, committed to helping their more than 1 million members at their 100 branches throughout the West. And this month through July 31st, you can get 2 times the credit card points on rewards credit card purchases. You can use your Mountain America rewards card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, groceries, travel, home projects, and all other purchases. I'm sure you guys have all heard about my orange tree and how I'm going to be using my money to get new orange trees. Shout out to Mountain America Credit Union for that. This promotion is a great way to stretch your dollars since you earn twice as many rewards as you normally do. Redeem your double points for rewards like travel rebates, gift cards, and event tickets. This is a limited time only deal. You have to take advantage of it while you still can. Like I said, through July 31st. Loans on approved credit offered can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions do apply. Bark, 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 bark. Circle K. Oh, my friends over at Circle K. We're in Studio K. We're sponsored by Circle K. This is a great day. Like, oh my goodness. Did that rhyme? Oh my gosh. Wow. This is a great time. Circle K is America's thirst stop. If you hadn't heard about, if you watch any of these PHNX shows and you haven't heard of Circle K, what the heck are you doing, man? You could be a part of the Inner Circle Rewards membership program. You get 25 cents off a gallon for your first 5 fill-ups after you become a member. 5 cents a gallon. I'm sorry, I'm a liar. 3 cents a gallon on every fill-up after that, but you can work your way up into the 5 cent a gallon off club as I buy a lot of gas. Steven's part of the 5 cent off club. Kevin's even a part of the 5 cent off club. He was the last of the 3, I think, to get into the 5 cent off club. Pardon him. But nonetheless, you can get plenty of other member exclusive deals and discounts. 79-cent Polar Pops, 99-cent Frosters. Oh my gosh, 3 for $7 Ghosts. Who can turn that down? But yeah, all you have to do is join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. The defense yesterday. Let's talk about it, man, because that first quarter, while the Mercury did end with a deficit after that first quarter, that's when I knew the Mercury showed up to play basketball yesterday, and they weren't going to back down and play anyone else's type of basketball. Brand of basketball is what I'm trying to say. My goodness gracious. But yeah, what was your immediate takeaway from the defense in particular as a team yesterday?
Yeah, I think the first takeaway for me, and especially looking at the matchup with New York, the fact that New York is a team that hardly turns the ball over. I think they came into yesterday's game 3rd in turnovers per game, and they've pretty much been the best and most consistent at the top of the league in terms of least turnovers on a per game average. They're not a team that you can typically speed up with your defense. They're also not a team that typically turns it over in general. It just makes bad decisions. How many times yesterday did we see the New York Liberty working late in the shot clock? How many times did we see them borderline with shot clock violations? How many times did we see them bad pass turnovers where they're just not on the same page? And you can say whatever about, the space that they're in right now, but you can't speak to that part without crediting the defense of the Phoenix Mercury first. They're physical, they're active, they're on the string, they're communicative, they're early with their help, they're active with everything that it is that they do in regard to their schemes, whether they're switching, whether they're staying traditional, whether they're picking up 3/4, if not the full length of the court. They're just very sharp and they're very together and connected with their defense. And Kevin, we can go ahead and pull the graphic up now for the defense for the team this season so far. And this graphic is titled Dictating Defensively because that's exactly what this team does. That's what their identity is on that end of the court. I mentioned New York only averaging about 13 turnovers a game. Last night, they tied their season high with 19. And now I think they had 10 live ball turnovers. And that speaks to just the activity of the Mercury with their defense. 96.9 defensive rating is 3rd in the WNBA at this moment in time. They're holding opponents to 47.8% from 2 this season, which is 5th in the W. Opponents are also 5th in the W regarding shooting threes against the Mercury at just 31.5%. And the big number at the bottom that I just got done speaking to in respect to what they did to the Liberty, they've been doing to the entire W this season, and that's forcing turnovers. 17.9 turnovers that they're forcing their opponents into on a per-game basis. That's an astronomical number. Again, thinking about it from, near the top of the league was the New York Liberty at about 13 and a half turnovers a game on average going into yesterday's game. To see the Mercury forcing teams into 17, almost 18 turnovers a game, and they've been at 18 or more for pretty much a majority of the season, and they just kind of dropped off a little bit over the last 2 games prior to yesterday. This defense is special. It sustains across multiple lineups. You see players like Natasha Mack coming in with energy and activity that's unique and different from what Catherine Westbell does, both of which are effective, but unique to their specific types of defensive skill set. Mac being able to come in with activity, getting deflections, being able to hedge and switch and do things like that. You see Kalani Brown coming in, giving minutes, doing the exact same thing. I've been not surprised, but I've been impressed by the versatility that she sustained within their defensive principles. Obviously, you have Alyssa and Satu doing everything that they do. And then before anything else to set the tone, you have to speak to everything that Monique, Akoa, Makani, as well as Lexi Hell do from the point of attack. This team just gets it defensively, and they want it defensively as well. And there's a certain type of urgency they have, and that's putting them in position to be as great as they want to be as their offense begins to catch up to the defense.
Well, and I want to talk about the New York turnover part of it because they forced 6 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the game and then 14 turnovers in the first half. And for a team that really doesn't average a lot of turnovers at all, to force 14 in the first half, and they didn't capitalize on all of them, but it did look pretty good. I mean, and yesterday's first half shooting, it was one of those days where they started off really bad. The first quarter, they were shooting 14% from 3. In the second quarter, they raised it to 24% from 3. When the shots aren't falling, they've got to stop the other team from scoring, and that's exactly what they were doing. While Alyssa Thomas is the type of player that says, if we're not going to score, ha ha ha, neither are you. And when you've got Monique, Akoa, Makani, and Lexi Held giving Sabrina Ionescu the Lexi Held and Monique, Akoa, Makani treatment, which that is a treatment in itself, okay? We're going to start calling that for what it is, okay? When those two players are tasked with defending somebody, they do a darn good job at it night after night after night. And so you've got those two players flying around doing what they were doing. And I kept hearing the Mercury broadcast, or the New York broadcast, talk about this over and over again. But the Mercury's ability to recover from a double team is really second to nobody in the WNBA. And it goes to Stephen's point of their connectivity on the defensive end. And when you've got 11 new pieces, and we're sitting here talking about the connectivity on the defensive end 14 games into the season, ha ha ha, joke's on all of you guys. It just became a whole lot harder to play against the Phoenix Mercury.
Yeah. So I think aside from the turnovers, I definitely wanted to start there. If you go into a game and you just kind of imagine how it might play out, you typically come across 1 or 2 instances that an opponent might have just off of the talent or the style of play that they play, where you're like, okay, if this happens or if that happens, it's going to be really hard, almost impossible to win. For me, going into yesterday's game, looking at the Mercury and the Liberty, if you told me that Breanna Stewart had 35 points, I probably wouldn't have told you that the Phoenix Mercury won that game, just because 35 is a lot, and Stewie, her 35 is also going to come in tandem with a bunch of other impact over the course of that game. So you tell me Stewie had 35 against pretty much anybody in the league, that's probably a win for the New York Liberty. That was not the case yesterday. They were at home as well. I think the fact that this Mercury team finds ways to, like we always talk about, kills. This team just finds it in significant portions of the game. You look at crunch time yesterday. The Mercury made it hard on the Liberty to even have an opportunity to get up shot attempts, yet alone the shots that they were taking weren't on the merits that they wanted to. So there's a certain type of rhythm that's just completely disrupted. That starts with everything that we talked about with Monique, Akoa, Makani, as well as Lexi Held in particular. To your point, Sabrina Ionescu did not have fun yesterday. And it's that tag team tandem. I pick up the baton off of what you did, and then once you get your rest and once you're done resting, then you come back in, and then it's a relay race between those two at the point of attack. And they just understand how they're really in tune with the game plan as far as scouting for individual matchups, and they do a great job defending with multiple efforts at the point of attack. Those two just are hard to screen. The fact that they can pick up and they can pick up players the full length of the court and then also keep that pressure. And it's not just that, and then they get blown by in the half court because they're doing a great job with staying attached to their matchups as well. This team's special on the defensive end. And again, for a franchise that came into this season saying they want to play more defense, I don't think they could have re-upped and did better with the talent that they brought in, but also the buy-in generation to get the team to believe in that part of it and really truly hold that as the part that leads the dance for their team on a game-by-game basis. Again, the offense is trying to play catch-up to the defense. The defense is also setting the table for the offense. So inevitably, at some point, the offense is going to start to sustain at a certain level. And I think it's when that happens, might be potentially over the next couple of weeks, as Alyssa and Kahleah really get their footing back with the team. I think that's when they'll really start to turn that corner from that third best team in the league right now that's pecking up towards the top two teams that were in the finals last season to really, truly kind of entrenching their name in that conversation with those two.
Well, and I want to talk about these two particular stats. The Mercury right now are averaging 8.9 steals per game as a team. I think there is a world in which this Mercury team is averaging over 10 steals a game. And that, I think, is going to happen once Kahleah Copper is fully immersed back into the starting lineup. But then the other part of that is that they're third in defensive rating at 96.9. And I mean, I checked these same stats a week ago, and they were not in the top 5 for either of them. So not only is the defense really good, but it's improving game after game against good teams. And I feel like that is really important to the identity piece of this team, the communication of all of it. And, the connectivity that we talk about, over on the DLS Wing Show, we talk about how winning cures everything. And winning sure does make it a lot easier to continue to be buying in on the system of which is already working for your team. It's going to be a lot harder for Natasha Mack to say, oh, well, I'm not getting enough minutes right now, if they're winning the way that they are in New York and hopefully one of these days soon, hopefully versus the Minnesota Lynx. I'm not going to count my eggs before they hatch on that one, but, I'm praying. But, it becomes a lot harder for, rotational players to be dissatisfied with their roles when the team is doing well. And so the buy-in just becomes that much better, right?
That's exactly what happens. But the buy-in also comes when, so you imagine you're giving advice to a little kid that's been kind of stuck in their ways on doing something a specific type of way. And they just happen to try it the way that you want them to do it. And they see how good it makes them feel, how successful they are from that. That's where there's like a realization point where there's trust, but you want to see how far that trust goes. And then you get to a point where, okay, every time we're being asked to approach something a specific type of way, and we do so, we get the results we're looking for. Anytime we get out of alignment with that, we start to see things not work in our favor. However, upon immediately getting back in alignment with operating the way that we know we're supposed to, the successes come again. And that's what it is with their defense. They never lose touch with it. It's more so just the greatness of the talent of a lot of these teams on an individual standpoint, but also comprehensively as teams, the ways in which they operate. Defense is a very imperfect task. It's never going to go on script. You have to be able to just kind of problem solve on the fly. And that's what this Mercury team has been great at this season. No different than their offense is getting towards, but it's ahead of it in terms of the schedule. The defense is very adaptable in real time. And we see that with the ways in which they operate on a game-by-game basis, whether it's elite-level guards, elite-level wings, elite-level front-court players. They just understand how to get the job done, do so in a timely manner, and find ways to stack those stops. And, it just becomes overwhelming when an opponent can't put the ball in the basket and they have to get back in transition time after time. And almost every time it's Alyssa Thomas, and if it's not her, especially if the team is healthy, it might be Kahleah Copper that's leading that charge in transition, or Satu Sabali. That's not fun, especially when you have Kid Laksa, Lexi Hill, and Sammy Wickham running relay races to the corners on the three-point line in transition, seeing who can get there first. That's not fun for a defense to have to deal with, and the shot quality that they're getting off of those shots, it's tough. it's tough. And again, it's all about their defense setting the table for everything to come with their offense. So very much aligned with the way that they want to operate. From my eye, from what I've seen across the entire W so far this season, when this team is healthy, they genuinely feel like they're the best defensive team in the W. And they probably got like a half stride lead on everybody else. There's still depths of versatility that I don't feel like they've really had to lean into yet. And I think that just speaks to what this team is and what they're working towards.
I'm going to say it. When you got Natasha Mack in the passing lanes, just grabbing the ball out of thin air, like, we don't need to unlock those layers yet. You know what I mean? We've got magic happening right in front of our very eyes. Honk, honk, man. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, the bench depth is doing a really good job of making up for any deficiencies that may happen on those rotations on the defense. And it looks really, really good. And to your point, I was actually going to joke earlier that I feel like one of the only players in the league that's faster than Lexi Held is Kahleah Copper. And Kahleah Copper isn't back yet, at least fully. And so when she is back fully and we're getting, regular Ka minutes, man, we're going to have a freaking track team.
Yeah. I think track team is exactly what it is. Whether it's the sniper group racing to the corners to fill the lanes in transition, or it's them racing in passing lanes to deflect passes and just compile steals with the chaotic activity they have. It's a fun approach, but it's also very disciplined because they haven't been fouling at like an alarming rate as well. When you're aggressive defensively, that's typically one of the things that makes you scale it back if you got players in foul trouble. We haven't really seen many Mercury players be in foul trouble as the defensive activity has seen an uptick. And I think that just speaks to the discipline part that we're continuing to harp on. They have it in layers, they hit in waves, and when it's hitting, it truly resembles a team that can potentially be the best in the W.
Stephen, Kevin and I have a question for you. I have our beloved Kahleah Copper's tweet notifications on, and I get this notification, and I just know that you can shine some light on what is confusing Kevin and I about what Kahleah Copper could be on about. She says, 2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the bean?
What you mean? I know Kevin knows this.
It is a song lyric.
Yes, I was gonna say Kevin should have knew it before I did.
Kevin said, "What the heck is she on about?"
Yeah, because I was like, "Why is she just tweeting this at 11?"
They're going to Chicago tomorrow.
I know, but it's like I don't know. You get my point. It's like, why are we tweeting lyrics to? We know your schedule. You know what I mean? It's not like you were revealing.
She's excited to go home.
I know. I will say I'm not gonna downplay her enthusiasm on Twitter because I do love the Dubs and the MF chat tweets. Like they're just so fire. they fire me up every time.
I'm not gonna lie, Kahleah feels right now like this team's biggest fan, and I'm not gonna say that that's how it didn't feel that way last year, but it is really fun to see, especially when Kahleah is kind of sitting on the bench a lot more often than not right now. Even when she is playing, she's got a little bit of a minutes restriction, but she has been so fun to watch, be a fan of the team. And then obviously we got Coach Ka in the chat. I just feel like, and especially going back to the 11 new players thing, what a better way for them to get to know her than for her to be sitting there with a clipboard on the sidelines.
It's been fun to watch Ka embrace her own version of leadership. And we heard her harp on that multiple times on media day. Obviously she has a robust a group of leaders that she's kind of been able to kind of take under over the course of her career. But her harping on just learning herself through leadership, and I think one of the biggest ways that's kind of stood out about Kahleah's leadership in particular, it's been what Nate mentioned. I think it was pregame against the Liberty, if I remember correctly. He's like that she remains curious about her leadership, and curious as in finding new ways, seeing what the response is from the people that she's looking to infuse confidence in, and finding new ways, unique ways to reach it. And I think there's no better example of Kahleah's leadership and the curiosity and uniqueness of it than what we saw in particular going into the game against the Connecticut Sun, which is her wearing Alyssa Thomas's jersey. and everything that obviously meant for Alyssa. And we saw them have multiple moments where they were interacting with one another. And Kahleah being the first player up on the bench when Alyssa had her they had the highlight montage just kind of giving her a salute at Mohegan Sun Arena. Those little things really matter. And when you're talking about establishing a culture, generating buy-in, having players that might not be operating in a way that best suits their skill set at times, but being willing to do that because of the ecosystem they're operating in, all of those things that Kahleah does, those extra efforts that she makes as a leader, they're all having a significant impact in real time. You don't get Alyssa Thomas and Kahleah Copper, or you don't get Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabali without the efforts of Kahleah Copper and without those efforts being organic and genuine. And the fact that she's doing the things that she is, it's very much aligned with why this team is so good and has gotten out the gate to the start that it got to, even without her literal services being available on the court for a majority of it so far.
Well, and you know who else has been getting some off on Twitter quite frequently?
Yeah, there's going to be another one on the way to you too, Kevin, but we can go ahead and speak on this first one.
Friend of the show, Natasha Mack, said Dennis Rodman type-ish, man. Oh, yeah. Stephen, go ahead, cook.
So very much to the point of us speaking to defense. Natasha Mack and everything that she's been on since she came back to rejoining the team defensively, it's been very much aligned with that Dennis Rodman archetype that she's speaking to. And that's just blue collar efforts. 50-50 balls. If there's a ball that's loose on the floor, no one's beating her on the floor to it. If there's rebound opportunities, no one's beating her to those either. The deflections, the energy, the activity. She had multiple instances over the last two games where she gets a block on one end and then she outruns whoever it is that's supposed to be guarding her down the court when she's rim running, and she ends up getting layups and opportunities at the rim off of that. And if she's not getting that opportunity, it's setting the table for one of those shooters in the corner. Natasha Mack is everything that this team needs from that center group. She brings a different type of fire to her activity, and it kind of it raises the level of activity with everyone that's on the court with her. It's chaotic in the most complimentary fashion. And again, for her to be in that role that she's in and doing the things that she's doing for this team, it's special. And I don't think she's even at her best self yet. She's 3 or 4 games back and returning from injury. She's just now starting to get comfortable. And a comfortable Mac is a very fun Mac and also a very impactful Mac. So we can go ahead and cue it up, Erika.
Nah, Kevin, go ahead. Ready for Harold's chicken with a mild sauce. Go ahead and explain this to us, because I'd imagine this is another Chicago thing, yeah?
Yes, very much a Chicago thing. So for those that don't know, Natasha Mack was drafted by the Chicago Sky and spent a lot of time here over the last handful of years. And one of the staples of Chicago is the mild sauce that comes with whenever you order chicken from certain restaurants. And in particular, no free ads, so I will not be saying the establishment's name. Make sure y'all clip that and send that to Max. Let him know that we are intentional about listening to how he's speaking to it with us. That being said, though, yes, you get mild sauce with your wings from any lovely establishment that sells chicken here in Chicago, and you catch a vibe off of it. Very unique flavor. It's a mixture of multiple things. No mild sauce is made the exact same. So you get it from one place, it's going to be a little different than where you get it from another. But generally speaking, very good. If you haven't had it, you need to try it, but don't try it unless you come here to do it first.
I think I'm going to have to make a trip. Kyle wants me to meet her at the Bean at 2:30, and apparently I have a lunch date with Mac. So sounds like a big day in Chi-Town.
I can tell you Chris Poindexter would love to meet you.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Oh man, but we do have, I feel like this next week for the Mercury is kind of a calm week. They only play tomorrow versus the Sky, and then on Friday at home, thank goodness, versus the New York Liberty. And I'm gonna just say it, I've been waiting too long to see this team play basketball in person again, man. Kahleah comes back, we don't get to see it, and now they're off on this winning streak, and they're doing the God's work in the WNBA land right now, and they haven't played at home in 2.5 weeks, and I'm itching to see them play again. But I ask this of you because The Mercury have obviously beat both of these teams now. Once, one time with Chicago at home, and then New York obviously on the road.
Mm-hmm.
What challenges do you think this next week presents for the Mercury? I do think that we'll get to see even more Kahleah Copper minutes this weekend, hopefully tomorrow in Chicago. Hopefully that's why they saved her, just to save her for her little homecoming in Chicago. And then obviously versus New York next weekend next week at home. I feel like those are two really big and fun games for Kahleah Copper to be able to play in. So I'm glad they kind of rested her and we got the dub. So who cares? And so, what do you just challenges for the Mercury that lie ahead?
Yeah, we can start with the Sky game. So I think a lot of people being the broadcast that we heard last night in particular, thought that there was a significant advantage on the inside for the New York Liberty. Obviously, we want to acknowledge that Jonquel Jones did get hurt in last night's game. We hope that she's going to be okay going forward, and hope that she's available for the matchup coming in about a week, basically from today.
My 3-point champ.
When the Liberty, yeah, exactly. When the Liberty come to PHX Arena to face off against the Mercury for round 2 of the season series. Hopefully she's going to be okay, but I don't think that people are looking at the Mercury roster the right way, because it feels like people are trying to find holes to pick at, and that hole gets filled, and then they quadruple down on not allowing that to be a weakness. And then so you try to find another one. Started with hashtag depth talk, and then that quickly, almost immediately, just evaporated. It just dissipated. And then you get to talking about shot profile. Satu, why would Satu be taking so many threes? Well, she's one of 4 or 5 players in the league right now that's averaging 20 points a game, or was averaging 20 points. I think she's at like 19.8 right now after yesterday's game. And then it's like, okay, but what about who's playing point guard for this team? Guess what? This team has Alyssa Thomas. And if it's not Alyssa, it's probably going to be Satu. And if it's not Satu, then it's probably going to be Kahleah. And if it's not Kahleah, guess who else it could be? The hashtag depth pieces that people didn't believe in because they didn't go and do the work. There's just always a direct answer for this team whenever people try to find a hole to poke at. And I think they finished yesterday's game plus 10 on the boards. I think that's a direct. That just speaks to the level of competition for this team. They won't allow for weaknesses to take them out of the ways in which they want to operate. And that goes for even on the game where they didn't shoot the best from 3.
David says manure strip, chicken strips, Merkin 5. Oh yeah, man, I've been yapping about the manure strip for 2 days. Because where did Monique Akoa Makani cook from yesterday, Stephen?
That's a perfect transition for Money Mo. And Mo Money was getting a whole lot of money from the MIDI yesterday in particular. She was getting it done. And I'll go ahead and say it, she is the X factor for this team. She is going to continue to be the X factor for this team. There's multiple pieces that have a role that they can play for this team that's going to be able to maybe take that over for a game. But I think that when things are going to be on the line and when it matters most, it's going to be Monique's ability to operate in a way that doesn't have to include any of the big 3. She can go and get a paint touch against any of the matchups that she's going to have. She's clearly shown to be able to knock down threes at an alarming clip that's starting to see the defenses kind of shift the ways that they were guarding her early to now understanding that that's just simply not going to work anymore. So I mentioned the paint touch and her ability to just put the ball on the deck. Her drives are going to be just so important for this team. Talk about the 3-point shooting. You talk about doing that in a timely manner. We talked about a couple of weeks ago her being near the top of the league in 3-point percentage and the clutch in particular when these close games are happening. She continues to get it done there. She's a player that can get to the free throw line. I think her dynamic is going to continue to shape shift. It's not necessarily going to be the same on a per game basis. You look at yesterday's game, she had the ball in her hands in a more traditional manner more than at any other point so far this season. Some of that is because of the ways that the Liberty were defending them and the actions they were trying to get into. But more than anything else, it was because the space that she was operating in and the gravity that came with it. The ball just happened to find its way to her so often. So Monique is the X factor for this team, and her uniqueness of usage and her ability to just adapt on a game-by-game basis entails everything that makes her that X factor for the X factor.
Yeah, I really like this comment from Rob. Your favorite bucket is Monique, Akoa, Makani. And if it wasn't their favorite, just wait until they have to play the Mercury and they find out. And I've been talking about this all week. It's been really, really fun, specifically with this New York game and even the Connecticut game a little bit as well. Watching people find out about Lexi and about Monique, it's so fun. Man, it's just this shock on their faces, all in their tweets, man. They had no idea what was about to hit them. And it just, and they don't hit. They just, they embody that intellectual aggression that Nate Tibbetts has been talking about since the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. They do. And added to that mix as well is Catherine Westbelt, who hasn't been shooting the 3-ball. She hasn't been shooting the 3-ball the best the last couple of games, but you haven't seen that shift her impact on the game at all either. They all just understand their roles. And I think, like I said, that group of players is going to collectively be the X factor for the team. But I think the one that rises to the forefront most, just because of the position that she's playing and the ways that she's used in tandem with the big three, Monique's going to be that for this team when the games matter most.
Come September, I feel like Monique is going to be one of the most important pieces on the Phoenix Mercury.
He already is that now for sure. But yes, it will grow. It will certainly grow more come up almost postseason play when it comes to standings, and then especially when you get to the postseason.
Well, we got. Oh no, there he goes. He's back. Like I said earlier, we've got a very clear-cut schedule for you guys next week. Monday, 5:30, and then on Friday, when it's time for the Liberty rematch, we're going to have a post-game for you guys live from the studio. It's going to be a really fun time. I'm super excited about it, but I do want to ask Stephen, do you think the Mercury go 2-0 on the next week?
Well, I would just like to point to the last couple of predictions have been very much spot on. I think they go and finish this road trip undefeated. So starting with Vegas, they get the win there. They go to Connecticut on the front end of the road back to back, win there in Alyssa Thomas's return. They go and get a win in Sammy Wickham's return to New York on the tail end of that back to back. They're greedy. They're a hungry team. I just can't see them resting on their laurels in any capacity. I imagine they go into this game against the Chicago Sky tomorrow and treat it as if they're a team that's on a 5-game losing streak and they need one to get back on the right track before getting into this near week-long break that they'll have before their next game where they can rest and recover and practice.
Yes. Woo!
And practice. Yeah, exactly.
I'm so excited.
They're looking to – you can feel the momentum starting to snowball with this team, and they're not trying to allow for any of the slippage regarding that momentum that they're building to derail them in any capacity. And the engine has never been one to want to be derailed in any capacity. I think that also there's going to be a certain type of fire and edge that Kahleah Copper comes out with again tomorrow. If you know, you know. If you were with us, rocking with us last season, you saw the game that she had against the Chicago Sky in her return to Chicago post All-Star break last year. I can't imagine she comes out with any less fire than that. And I think that the natural relationship competitively that her and Angel Reese have with one another is going to lend itself to her playing with a certain type of edge as well. So be on the lookout for Kahleah she's only played 2 games so far, so you can't say it's going to be a season best game, but be on the lookout for her having her best game of the season so far in tomorrow's game. And yes, I think they win tomorrow's game. Obviously, we'll be podcasting again before Friday's game against the Liberty, but I think they continue on with this win streak going into, I think it's Sunday's game when they host the Las Vegas Aces.
Yes. No, I think they go 2-0 on the week. I think that this winning train keeps moving. To your point, Alyssa Thomas doesn't like losing, and everyone in that locker room knows it. And so if they are losing at halftime, Alyssa Thomas is going to go in there and work them into shape. I think this is going to be a really fun week for Mercury fans. I want to brag on the Mercury just a little bit and have they been making me a little annoyed on a few fronts for certain, but we'll leave that at that and we'll move on from that front. They are doing something extremely cool for the season ticket holders, the X Factor, and I want to talk about it for just a second. We are in the overtime part of this podcast, so if you are sticking around, thank you for sticking around. But they are paying for, flying, hoteling, feeding,
All
and
expenses
getting
paid.
courtside freaking tickets to a away game versus the New York Liberty for the X Factor. I need to reiterate this. They are flying them to New York City. They are getting them a hotel in New York City. They are getting them Liberty tickets in New York City to watch the Phoenix Mercury take on the New York Liberty in New York. I don't think there's any other team that's doing something like that for its fan base. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty expensive to sit courtside at a Phoenix Mercury game consistently and have those season tickets. I'm not saying it's cheap. I'm not saying that, the Mercury's doing what they should be doing. No, I'm saying thank you to the Mercury because that is a really cool thing. And I don't think it's getting talked about in the public eye a lot. I've had a few season ticket holders mention it to me, and I didn't even know it was happening. So the Mercury need to do a better job of bragging on themselves, honestly, because that's honestly one of the coolest things I've ever heard a team do for its season ticket holders. So huge shouts to the Mercury on that front for getting them to New York. I'm pretty sure Rob is going, our beloved commenter and diehard. And then I know another diehard's going, but I'm blanking on who it is. So if you are that person that's going to New York, please drop a comment. Let us know how it goes. I'm so excited to hear about the details from that trip. I want y'all to walk through a Burger King drive-thru, just like you're the Phoenix Mercury in September of last season. You know, go on a real road trip.
What I'll say is that is very much first class activities from this organization. And I think that's important with some of the things that we heard about the ways that the Natasha Cloud experience and the experiment kind of came down over time. Those are things that you want to hear a whole lot more of right there. Them doing things like that. That's why I think the reason why X Factor rallies behind the Mercury the way that they do, obviously the on-court play is important. Having an all-time great, multiple all-time greats play for your franchise helps with that significantly. But how do you cultivate community with your fans? How do you embrace your fans in ways that make those extra efforts? Those people have jobs. Like, there's no way to just, uproot your entire schedule if you're not bought into this particular thing, and this thing being the Phoenix Mercury with everything that they're doing on the operations side. It's very impressive, and they're doing a great job. I can't speak to the rest of the league, but I would say that is a very unique thing that is happening. And to your point, they should definitely be giving themselves singing their own praises a little bit louder, because that's different for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that final comment from Dylan AZ. I'm actually going to forget that whole incident even happened in the first place. If you don't know my joke about still being at the restaurant, I've never left the restaurant. That restaurant will never. The only reason I even agreed to host this podcast in the first place is because Natasha Cloud was on our team. And so, I'll leave it at that. I'm still hurt. I'm still at the restaurant. It'll be okay. One day, maybe I'll get over it. But fun fact about Erika, I actually have never gotten over anything a day in my life. So, it's tough, but, and yes, the fan experience with the Phoenix Mercury is second to none. I can't say enough good things. Obviously, I only watch, a lot of broadcasts with, the other visiting or the other home teams. I have to give Valkyries their flowers because I thought every game was a home game. I thought every game was a home game. And what did I see last night but a lot of purple? Nonetheless, though, Stephen, have I forgotten anything today?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much checked off all the boxes we needed to for today. Just want to make sure we mention the double down with your votes and create those emails if you need to. Tell your friends, tell your coworkers. Make it known. This is an important day. You only got so many more double days coming before All-Star voting is done, so you want to take full advantage and make the actual rankings for the votes that players are getting make more sense. We need a whole lot more of that, and X Factor, we need you to be rallying behind the likes of Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabali, as well as Kahleah Copper. Make it happen.
Yeah, it's a big day. So use your work email, your personal email, your boss's work email, your boss's personal email, his wife's personal email, his wife's work email. Why don't you steal Kevin's email while you're at it? Make sure you vote for Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabali and Kahleah Copper and Monique, Akoa, Makani while you're at it, though.
It won't work because I've already voted.
Oh, I'm so proud, Kevin. Wow. He really is bought in on this team just like us, man. Wow.
Yes.
Mercury producers, they're just like us.
Shout out
You know?
Kevo.
SPG.
We're proud. All right. Well, you have to follow us over on Twitter at PHNX_Mercury. I'm not going to lie. We've been cooking on that account. Okay. Our intern has been cooking. I've been cooking. Steven's been cooking. Even Kevin's been cooking on that account. So
Both interns. It's a team. It's a team effort over here for sure.
Right. It is. I hear through the grapevine our memes have gotten even funnier as the season has gone on. So I'm gonna give some credit to where credit is due. Everyone is pitching in a hand with the Phoenix Mercury right now in terms of covering the beat and making sure that we have
like
the best
team.
content. What?
Sounds just like the team.
We got us all covered. The communication on the defense is second to none. The only people that got us beat are the Phoenix Mercury themselves. That's okay, though. We'll let them beat us out on that. You can follow me over on Twitter at Erika Lee Day. That's Erika spelled with a K. You can follow Stephen at StephenPG3, and that's StephenPG3. You can also follow Kevo Post at Kevo Post. You can follow PHNX_sports as well. Also, become a diehard. I know I said it at the top, but be sure to become a diehard. It's the first link in the description box below. I talked about it for 10 freaking minutes, so I'm not going to talk about that much more, but literally the best diehards in the group of the nation are the PHNX Mercury podcast diehards. So shout out to all of you guys for being in the chat on this fine Thursday morning. I can't say thank you enough, and thank you to Kevin for producing this fine broadcast. If you guys have any questions for us, be sure to tap in with us over on Twitter, and we will see you guys on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.